Well, hey there. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. My name is Michael, and right out of the gate, I just want to let you know I have nothing to sell in this video. This should take about 11 minutes of your time, and I hope that it really helps you. What qualifies me to even talk about a subject like this? Well, it's fairly simple. I've made a lot of mistakes in this business, and they hurt my profitability. In the 1990s, I owned an estate liquidation auction company. I had weekly sales of antiques and estates, merchandise, and I started the business from scratch. And one of the things that I realized back then very quickly is that if I wanted to have enough items for a weekly auction, that I was going to have to hustle at least 3 weeks in advance of that auction so that I could make sure that the items that I was selling were well advertised. And this means that I had to have a way of keeping a continuous stream of quality merchandise flowing into my facility. And so I had to do the right things. You have to be on your toes all the time. In other words, if I made fatal mistakes, it hurt my bottom line in a very big way. I had to make sure that I kept the blunders to a minimum. I worked 12 hours a day. I worked very hard at the time to keep my auction business well stocked with merchandise. I mean, when you have a steady crowd that comes to your auctions, you have to make sure that your merchandise is good quality, that there's plenty of it, and that it flows in on a steady basis. We sold fast, 45, about 60 to 70 items an hour. An auction where you're moving that quickly necessitates that you have at least 300 to 400 lots advertised and ready to sell on the day of the sale. And so I learned a few things along the way about how to do that. I learned some valuable stuff on where to spend my time, and I also made some huge mistakes that cost me time and money. Today I'm going to share the top 3 mistakes that I made, and I hope that my sharing them with you will help you succeed in your own endeavors. All right, let's get right to it. Mistake number 1, forgetting where antiques originate. I have watched and I've read and I've listened to so-called gurus online that will tell people that they need to spend more time at garage sales and at thrift stores and at auctions. Now, these are all places where you can find antique items, make no mistake about that. But the closest one of these sources to discover where antiques originate is the garage sale. Why? Because antiques originate in people's homes, in their storage areas, whether there's a garage or an attic or a basement or somewhere around the person's property. The problem is that when it comes to garage sales, when the garage sale happens, there are sometimes loads of other buyers there at the sale as well. Antiques originate in people's homes. They originate in small family-owned businesses. They originate within people's belongings, in their attics, in their basements, garages, barns, outbuildings, storage buildings. It may even be an old bus on the property. I had to find ways to get face-to-face with people in their homes and without any other buyers around before I could truly find fresh merchandise in large quantities. If you're spending a great deal of time scouring garage sales and thrift stores or auctions, you can find antiques there, but these places won't be your best bet for finding a good quantity of items to buy so that you can resell. I would hit those kinds of places in my downtime, but I wanted to spend a majority of my time face to face, eyeball to eyeball, belly to belly with those who had accumulations of merchandise. So I had to stay focused. Don't forget where antiques actually originate and stay focused in that area. Stay focused in that zone. All right, mistake number 2, being too picky about the item that you're willing to look at. One of the biggest mistakes that you can ever make in the picker business is trying to qualify what people have on the phone and then refusing to look at something because it doesn't sound like something you'd be interested in. I mean, that may sound counterintuitive, but let me illustrate it with an example. I had a lady call me one time, and she told me that she had some antique furniture that she wanted to sell. I asked her a little bit about it. It was clear that she had a lot of Depression furniture at her house. Now, keep in mind, Depression furniture wasn't a big hot seller in my locale in the 1990s, and so many people would say at that point, no, I'm not really looking for furniture at this time. But I had learned a long time before then that no matter what people say on the phone call, if they have an accumulation of items, it almost never hurts to go and at least take a look at what they have. I told her, let me pop over and see what you have available. Well, I was right. She had loads of Depression furniture, which I didn't want, by the way. But there on one of the bureaus was a pocket watch. Now, I don't know about you, but I love small stuff. It's easy to ship, it doesn't take up a lot of space, and it can be very lucrative. And so I asked her if the pocket watch was for sale. I remember her eyes flew open wide. She responded, "Oh, you actually buy those kinds of things?" I told her that I did. And she said something that put a tingle up my back. She said, "Oh, then you're going to want to see what is in my attic." Oh, I sure did. At the very least, we have to take a look. This woman took me up to her attic, and to make a long story short, the attic had been an old tinsmith shop in the 1800s. It had been her husband's grandfather's shop, and this was an elderly woman. It was like stepping back in time. It had been handed down in the family, and now there was no family left. She had no use for the items that were there. I took 5 truckloads of antiques out of that attic, and I paid her a decent price for them. I made a lot of money on that one pick simply because I was willing to take a look. Being too picky about what you will look at can cost you money almost every time. Okay, mistake number 3. Now, this is something that I really struggle with still because I honestly think antiques are cool. I especially like vintage guitars. It's very easy for me to get caught in the trap of paying way too much for something that I love in the quote unquote moment. Infatuation takes hold, especially if you haven't scored something really awesome in a while, and you can tend to legitimize how much you ought to be able to spend on an item based on its coolness factor. I mean, seriously, if you want something and you've never seen it before and you know you're never going to see it again, or maybe not, and you're going to regret not buying it, by all means, I mean, reconsider, buy the thing. However, I have found that when I'm not as busy as I normally am with antiques, that I can make the mistake of paying more than the market will actually bear to make me a decent profit. Don't misunderstand me. I understand that many people want to get as much as they possibly can out of an item, but that doesn't remove the fact that I have to resell the merchandise, make a profit, turn it over quickly, and replace the money that I just spent on the item. That means I have to be careful not to fall so in love with an item of merchandise that I close my mind to the possibility of others coming my way. Falling in love with an item and paying too much for it is why so many pickers struggle with keeping a steady stream of stock coming through their doors. Let me share something with you. There will always be other merchandise. When you're in the picking business, you see, or at least you should be seeing, a lot of merchandise on a fairly regular basis. If you're full-time in the business, you know from experience that you have to keep a steady stream coming through the pipeline of merchandise. If you don't have fresh merchandise, it affects your bottom line. Turnover is so important. It's just plain and simple. Fact is, there are a large number of people out there that are wasting so much time when it comes to finding great antiques. I've heard people say that the antique market has dried up. I don't believe that at all. I have scaled way back with my antique buying and selling business considerably over the past few years, but I'm convinced that I could be as busy as I wanted to be and have loads of fresh antiques coming in a steady stream into my business. I mean, I still pick, but now I do it to relax and enjoy myself, turn good cash on a consistent basis, and I give myself plenty of time to enjoy the process. However, if I wanted to get the phone ringing off the wall, so to speak, I could do that too. I know how to make that happen, and there are times when I crack the supply faucet open just a little bit just to see if it's still doable and if the antique market is still as busy as it always was. And I'm here to tell you, it is. It is just as busy as it always was, maybe even more so, maybe even more lucrative than it ever was. Very important to remember this stuff. Most pickers can be as busy as they want to be. This statement almost seems counterintuitive. I mean, seriously, what picker wouldn't want to be busy discovering and buying and selling fresh antiques? It's true, though. If you have the kind of knowledge that makes the phone ring, staying busy is rarely an issue for most pickers. I've spoken with so many successful people in the market, and this seems to hold true for most of them. It takes knowledge, it takes experience, and it takes action to make it happen, though. This is an area that I feel qualified to help people out in. I have been a successful picker for 25 years, and I've seen my share of really cool stuff. It's a neat lifestyle of meeting people that you never probably would have met, of finding treasures that haven't seen the light of day maybe in years, and discovering some rare pieces that make your blood really pump. And that's why I'm going to be publishing the Just Pickers hot sheets. These sheets will come randomly to anyone who subscribes to them. They're free, so don't worry about the cost. They'll contain tips, techniques, and trends that might interest pickers, and perhaps even help them make a little bit of the green stuff. I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I can tell you one thing. I have been pretty successful at filling up my calendar with looking at life accumulations, and I've been privileged to purchase some really cool items over the years. I'm not a huge upsell kind of a guy. These hot sheets are free to anyone who wishes to subscribe to them. There's no catch. I don't make any promises with any of my hot sheets. I just throw information to people who want it. If you can use it, great. If you can't, no harm done being on the list. I truly want to help people learn how to do better picking, and I know I would have loved a hot sheet back when I was first starting out. And so if these hot sheets interest you, just put your name and email address in the subscription box. I have what is called a double opt-in format, which basically means you'll have to sign up in order to be on the hot sheet list, and then you'll have to click on a link that comes to your email in order to verify that it is you who signed up to receive it. You can unsubscribe anytime, and I'm not going to inundate you with stuff every day. I'm just going to throw a hot sheet at you every once in a while and let you know some of the trends that I'm currently seeing in my neck of the woods. If you're not on my site right now, if you're seeing this on YouTube, you can go over to justpickers.com, fill in your name and your email address, and start these hot sheets rolling your way. That being said, I wish you well. I mean, that's probably the best thing that anyone ever said to me. And that's my wish for you too. Whether or not you subscribe is totally up to you, but I wish you well either way. So, have a great day. Thanks for stopping by.